Miller from Morehead University, who's the interim dean at the College of Education at Morehead, and she's going to be our keynote speaker, and we're super excited about that and anxious to hear what she has to say. And just like to welcome each and every one of you, and I would just review the norms if I could, and we'd ask that you participate respectfully, be considerate, and welcome multiple viewpoints. Devote your attention to those speaking and sharing, and ask questions for clarification. Be courageous and speak your truth. Own your intentions and your impacts, and honor our time together. And does anyone have any needs for any kind of accommodations since last we met? Okay. So without further ado, Dr. Thomas Williams is going to give us some updates.
Yeah, thank you, Pete, and good morning, everyone. So I do have a few, or we do have a few updates that we would like to provide for this morning. So initially, we a couple of months ago, we began to start having dialogue and talking around an open seminar where we would open the seminar or this Saturday seminar to non-cohort members. However, we've canceled that for today because initially that was supposed to be for today. So we've canceled that, and we're looking to start that over again in December. So again, we will not have the open seminar today, but we're looking to move that to December. So we did want to be very honest and transparent and let you all know what we've decided for this seminar. Next, I don't know if you all have had an opportunity to look at the Kentucky teachers or if you've heard that we have opened up for cohort 2. So we're very, very excited about that. So, please, any colleagues that you may have, um, um, please share the press release with them. Please let them know that the open seminar, not the open, excuse me, the cohort 2 has opened, and we're very excited to start the next cohort. If they need additional information, they can go to the KDE website. We do have an application posted on the Kentucky Leads section. Lastly, the mentorship piece. So I know initially, again, we've talked about the mentorship and how that will be a huge component of this academy. So we're happy to learn that our IHE partners will be leading that initiative, and we'll be giving some more information around how that will look in the upcoming months. So we're very excited that we're about to launch the mentorship program, and and we hope that you definitely get something out of it. So those are all the updates that we have for this month. Does anyone have any questions around anything that I've mentioned thus far? Okay, I don't see any hands. So Pete, I will turn it back over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Thomas. And we're very excited about, it's hard to believe again, we've had 6 months under our belt or 7 months, and we're also looking at adding a second cohort. So super exciting. And as we talked earlier, there'll only be one first cohort. So you all are wearing that hat. So yeah, we have quite an event set for you all. We have the commissioner of the Department of Education, Dr. Jason Glass, and he has provided a video. So if you'll be patient with us, we'll get that going and hear from the commissioner. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jason Glass, Kentucky's Education Commissioner and Chief Learner. First, congratulations on being selected for the Kentucky Leads Academy. We are so grateful for the work you are doing to achieve Kentucky's highest level of certification in special education. Kentucky needs you now more than ever. Your energy and passion for high quality teaching and learning, your strategic and innovative thinking, your persistence, your ability to inspire teamwork, and your commitment to being a lifelong learner are vital as we start to build a better future for special education beyond COVID-19. Over the past several months, you have learned new concepts and practical advice about what it takes to become an effective leader in special education. Today's focus is collaborative leadership, how to build relationships with teachers and leaders in your school district and in your community, and how to encourage staff to serve in leadership roles. I challenge you to think deeply about today's topic, about the mindset and skill sets of high-performing collaborative leaders, and how to engage in rich, thoughtful conversations with your fellow scholars about special education leadership. Above all, I challenge you to set a goal to apply something you learned today to your daily leadership practices when you return to your work setting next week. Congratulations and thanks again. You're making a tremendous difference for our students with disabilities and families in your community and across the Commonwealth. You're helping us to build and sustain a network of highly qualified special education leaders, essential for Kentucky's future. I wish you well and look forward to meeting you sometime soon in person.
Yes, Thomas, did you want to go forward with the polling?
Sorry, I'm on mute. So the questions are coming up. So the first question is, and what we would like for you to do, we would like for you to put your answers into the chat box, and we'll call your responses out. So the first question is, have you studied leadership theories and or styles? So if you would put your response into the chat box. Again, have you studied leadership theories and or styles? We have a lot of yeses. Yes, from Krista, Lindsay, yes, Allison, yes, Abby, yes. Yes, they're coming in. Question one, yes. Stacy, thank you. Andrea, correct, yes. So we have a lot of yeses. Okay, great. Question two, have you ever worked with someone you thought was a collaborative leader? We still have responses coming in, so looks like we have a lot of yeses. A yes with a lot of exclamation marks, okay? Yes with smiley faces. All right, great. So still have a lot of yeses coming in. I don't see any no's or maybe. Okay, perfect. All right, so this is a great segue for you, Dr. Miller, to kind of see where our scholars are in regards to leadership. So Pete, I'll turn it over to you to turn it over to Dr. Miller.
Okay, thanks very much. As I said in our opening comments, we're super excited to have someone with the expertise and experiences that Dr. Miller brings to our presentation today. So without further ado, if you will, Dr. Miller, it's your stage.
Well, thank you. Good morning. I'm pleased to be with you this morning as a presenter and as a faculty member at Morehead State University, and I'm the Dean of the College of Education here. The presentation today is about leadership and leadership styles, and one of those specifically is collaborative leadership. In collaborative leadership, we're going to be looking at what that means, how it happens, how you can make steps toward being a collaborative leader. And a good starting point for us for understanding might be the Leithwood and Reels 2003 assertion that leadership is a function more than a role. Leadership is a function more than a role. Being a leader it does not mean that it's confined to a formal role or a formal position. The function of leadership is open to anyone at any level of the school who wields influence. And leadership can come from where you are right now and where you're going. So you can practice leadership styles and leadership wherever you are and in whatever position you are. The position itself is not where the leadership lies. The leadership lies in the role, function, not the role itself. Okay, I'm going to start my PowerPoint slides. It's going to take me a minute to share here. Okay, I don't have the share tab today.
Dr. Miller, I have the slides, so I could bring those up. Just one moment, please.
Okay.
Okay, so we're about ready, and just let me know when to advance the slides. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we can go to the next slide. Thank you. So what is collaborative leadership? Collaborative leadership means that it's a leadership style in which the process of decision making is truly collaborative. That means we're going to be collaborating across the group of people that we're working with. It doesn't have a set endpoint. When we're being a collaborative leader, it doesn't mean that we start, for example, making a plan and already have the end in sight and the goal already set by the leader. It's a really, truly a collaborative decision-making team. The end result is worked out among the participants. That's collaboration. Leadership of the process, again, the process, not the people. The process and not being a role. So we're looking at the function of the group to the function of the group is where the leadership is going to come in play. These links are actually links to the references. So if you get that later, then you'll be able to go into the PowerPoint. Okay, please go to the next slide. Collaborative leadership includes the purposeful actions we take as leaders to enhance the instruction of teachers. What are some of the purposes of leadership in your role where you are, or as where we're going to be a dose? What are some of the leadership roles that responsibilities that you're going to have to take care of? Perhaps that's something you can put in the chat right now. What are some of the roles or some of the functions of leadership that you're going to have to take on as a dose? One of them is to enhance the instruction of teachers. What's another function that you have to take on as a dose to be the leader of what kind of activities? Instruction and compliance, ensuring that teachers are providing up-to-date laws and professional development, support new special ed teachers, allocation of resources, oversee the implementation of special programming. Great answers, y'all. Meeting the students' needs, making sure the needs are met of every student. Excellent. Those are some of the things that we may do, process compliance, supporting teachers with and retaining great teachers. Okay, so these are some of the really good answers that you're coming up with. Teachers and paraprofessional, retaining them all. Good. So some of these things you're going to have to do on your own. Resource allocation may be something that has to be done by the director of special ed, whereas things like supporting teachers and retaining teachers and paraprofessionals may be something that we have to do across the horizontal, across all of the people that work in your area. So we might use collaborative leadership in some ways, in some places, but not others. This is to deepen our learning together is what we're really shooting for. And it takes building these deep relationships is really what makes a difference in collaborative leadership. And building deep relationships are the things that are going to retain and help make your culture one that is positive. Okay, and a positive culture is going to help retain teachers and paraprofessionals much more easily. Okay, next slide, please. Collaborative leadership requires a culture in which the school community respects each other and acknowledges individual skills and participation. All the staff can move forward in a positive environment while also becoming a learner. So this is a this is a place at which we have a growth mindset. The real leader has to step back and let others assume some leadership roles, but we all have to have the growth mindset where we can become learners as a part of leading. Okay, so we're going to build this culture, and the school community respects each other and acknowledges individual skills and participation. All the staff can move forward. It requires transparency, honesty, integrity, dependability, accountability, and also the educator's commitment to shared goals. So we're going to move on to the next slide. So why is collaboration important? Collaboration helps us problem solve. What do you do when you're stumped? What do you do when you run into a problem that you're not sure of how to solve the problem? Do you give up? I don't think so. Of course not. We're going to ask for help find another perspective. We're going to find another resource. We're going to brainstorm. Maybe we're putting information or putting ideas on a whiteboard. When you collaborate with your team to help solve the problem at hand, it really helps. Excuse me. It really helps to ask colleagues for their take on it. So when a group of people pool their knowledge and skills and expertise, then talk out the problems and debate potential solutions, this is a collaborative effort. This is collaboration. Collaboration also brings people closer together, people and schools. This is where I'm going to talk about relationship building again. We're operating in isolated silos a lot of the time. You know, you're in your classroom and you're working perhaps with paraprofessionals, but what's going on in your classroom is your responsibility. But as a DOS, you're going to be working with everyone in the special education area of your school or your district. Here we want to try putting together a mixed skills team, maybe operating rather than in silos, more as a team. The teams that tackle projects which require people with diverse skill sets and areas of expertise help these relationships be built. We're going to set up a team to collaborate for a period on a shared project. Even that is going to be collaborative leadership in play. Collaboration also helps people learn from each other. The best thing about working collaboratively with people is that we're going to be learning from their experiences. Not everyone has the same experiences. Maybe I'm a director of special education that hasn't had a lawsuit before. So I'm going to get with my my friends, my other directors of special education. I'm going to get with a lot of people and get those people surrounding me to help me work through this. What do I do? How do I do it? What's the timelines? So you can get other people who know more or who have different experiences. Perhaps they've already dealt with a lawsuit. Perhaps their district has done that several times. You can pool together people into a team that help people learn from each other. This means that you might be asking for feedback or opinions or sharing knowledge, finding out how your collaborators approach gaining a better sense of how they work. It's the first step toward building the workplace that's culture centered around learning and development. You can do this too. All right. Let's go to that. Yeah, thank you. Effective collaborative leadership can improve teacher retention and practice because you're boosting the morale of the organization, and that leads to higher rates of retention. And also, collaboration makes us more efficient workers. Actually, it improves the climate and the culture of the school in a really wonderful way. The effective collaborative leadership provides teachers opportunities for improved practices through increased leadership opportunities and a feeling of being valued in a school and environment. So it really does make a difference to work in a collaborative way. Next slide. Some of the key distinguishing attributes of collaborative leaders are balanced motivations. The leader wishes to generate value wherever they work. Now, you can't be a control freak and be a collaborative leader. If you're going to be a control freak, you're going to be more authoritative leader. But that's okay. There are times for that as well. One of the things that we want to work on is not controlling everything. Sometimes that's hard for us. We're the people who have risen to the top, sometimes by being a control freak. But don't freak out. It'll be all right. There are transferable skills, and that's a distinguishing attribute of a collaborative leader. We're looking at horizontal leadership rather than top down or from the bottom up. We're looking at collaboration to take us to level the playing field for everyone to be a part of the problem solving, a part of the solution, a part of the goal. Risk taking is encouraged by the leader who is collaborative. Contextual intelligence, that means you understand the situation and you have to understand when it's time to be collaborative and when it's not. We might openly share information as a collaborative leader, and also we're going to have some conflict arise from this. So rather than avoiding conflict, we know that conflict's going to happen in a collaborative leadership. But what we do is use that to help look at the different points of view and the different perspectives and talk through it. And we're going to have to work through those. It's a little bit difficult, but that sometimes solves problems in a different way and in a better way than just doing it from the top down. Okay. So collaborative leadership is a way of managing work across the functional and organizational boundaries. We're looking at in collaborative work environments, leaders aren't simply there to oversee people, but to lead projects and make sure goals are met. Rather, they work alongside employees and in collaboration with other teams and departments or to accomplish goals. So collaborative leadership is a way of managing what's going on. Let me give you an example of in my experience. I was a special education teacher, and I worked a lot with some of the general education teachers, but I always felt kind of left out. They didn't consider me they didn't consider me one of their group. So I worked individually with minimal interactions with the general ed teachers, but I started sticking around after school. I stuck around after school to ask teachers questions or comment about their art project or ask them about the poetry unit they were working on. And I came in and focused on what was going on in their classrooms and asked for advice from them. And the team started to include me regularly. It wasn't that I was being nosy or pushy. I was actually, what I was doing is I was trying to be a leader to pull that team together so that I could be included. And that's collaborative leadership. Even in just my position with parallel teachers, I wanted to be a part of that group. I wanted my students to be a part of that group. So what I did was I took the leadership role, but I allowed those teachers to become leaders within their own place. I asked them to be a part of the solution without me saying, hey, I want to be included, don't isolate me, let's make me a part of this too. So that's a collaborative leadership role that I took in a place where it was with my peers. And it really worked. I became part of the team. They would invite me to eat lunch with them. I just started eating lunch with them all the time then. So they also shared ideas and shared some of their problems, and we would sit and problem solve at lunch. It was a really good time in our relationship with each other, and it really changed the outlook of my school, because we were more, as a special educator, and my students and I were more involved in what was going on with the other third grade class. Okay. So how do you get there from where we are now? Well, it includes establishing group norms and group goals. Excuse me. We look at using discussion and dialogue. We have to remember to use our words like we ask our students to do. Use your words. So we want to get discussion and dialogue going. Every team needs to select maybe a new curriculum or analyze data or study new instructional methods. We're going to be having a discussion enhances the conversation around and allows the group to state their thoughts or ideas as you build consensus and make decisions. That's an example of collaboration. Rather than just making a decision or voting, we're going to have discussion and dialogue about it. So how else do we get there? Well, you have to work through conflict. I've already discussed this a little bit. Dialogue may lead to conflict, and having strategies for the leadership team to monitor conflict as it arises will support individuals. This step takes professional judgment, trust, and often provides growth opportunities for your team. So number 4 is to develop problem solving and decision-making strategies. It's not the principal's job or the DOS's job to decide what to do and then to tell the group. That's the opposite of collaborative leadership. So what we want to do is make it the team's responsibility to consider strategies that may vary in different settings. Collaborate to consider issues that decide the direction and then count on the principal to support. So next is assure all voices are heard. This is sometimes why it leads to conflict, because there are differences of opinion. This may seem like an obvious statement in collaborative leadership, but owning and doing things are two different things. Owning and doing. Being heard is more than participants speaking in a meeting. A collaborative leader must also facilitate participation from all the staff and welcome new participants. Seeking an opinion many times builds trust and inclusiveness from the start. Trust is the belief or confidence that the leader are reliable and have the best interests of the school at the core. It's the glue that holds us together in collaborative leadership. So you might ask, what if? The what ifs help us to build cohesiveness in a group. Actually, people who push back on the collaborative leadership decisions, we might be asking the what ifs that help us to build the group consensus again, and to communicate openly. It could be in the form of a short internal email, small group meetings, full staff meetings. We have to remember that the purpose of these conversations is to be transparent and reduce any misinformation that was decided by why and by whom. So in this, we want to remember that people follow people, not positions. Do you know of a place where somebody is following the people rather than the position? Here's an example from my experience. I worked in an elementary school, as I've told you about before. And at this elementary school, the teachers asked if we could have an author visit with, we had several different ones, but the very first one we had, the principal said, yeah, but you guys have to all do it. So he kind of stepped back and said, this is your gig. So teachers worked together, and one teacher took the lead on ordering books. One teacher took the lead on the travel arrangements for the author. One person took the lead on art projects that were related to the books. One person took the lead on science projects that were related to the books. One person took the poetry lead and prepared curriculum materials that go along with the book. So we divided out the work, and everyone was taken apart, or they were grouped with somebody who was the lead and taking part of what the responsibilities would be for the author visit. In fact, these author visits were the thing that brought our school together. Everyone was challenged to be a leader in some area. Everyone was challenged to be on a team. Everyone was challenged to be a part of what was going on. And the synergy that built in our school was totally amazing. Our principal was kind of took the approach of, I'm standing aside. He didn't say, okay, here's the problem. We want to have an author visit. Let's all work together on this. We took that initiative, and we stood up to that. So we are looking at the leadership coming from within, and where you are right now, or where you will be as a DOS, you can put those kind of scenarios into place, and they're transformational. It really did retain teachers. It really did create a climate of sharing and opportunity for teachers to take the lead. It really did enhance our climate and culture. Okay, we're going to go to the next slide, please. Now, from moving from where we are into collaboration can mean a few things, depending on the organization. The information is shared freely across all levels of the organization. The team are cross-functional and interdisciplinary. Each employee is given a voice and a way to contribute to the success of the organization. Each employee is given a voice, and then decisions are made as a team rather than consensus, either through consensus or co-creation. And by this we mean we make a decision and we all agree to it, consensus, or we co-create the decision. We move from somebody making that decision by themselves to creating a new solution that I'm sorry, I got stuck reading the chat. So co-creation is when we all create a new solution. Leaders bridge gaps between departments and play a major role in preventing silos. Again, special ed sometimes becomes a silo, and that's the last thing it needs to be. We really need to be collaborating with our regular general education teachers, and we want to make sure that that continues in where we're going and what we're doing. Okay, next slide. So, unlike traditional top-down organization structures where information is often hoarded by the upper echelons of the organization, collaborative leadership occurs a more open culture, encourages a more open culture. Each employee understands what's happening in the other departments and recognizes the shared purpose of their organization and sees how their role fits into that overarching purpose. In this structure, it's the role of leaders to facilitate collaborative relationships between teachers and between different units or different parts of the school. Again, the leader is taking a collaborative relationship and trying to build that collaboration across different teachers, across different parts of the school. Okay, next slide. Okay, so what's collaborative leadership look like when we get to it? First is open organizations. In promoting openness, the leaders create an inclusive, transparent workplace, and it helps us to create a strong shared sense of purpose and a more cohesive organizational culture. Practically, this means providing open communication channels in which people can freely share information with each other. That's really important. A lot of times when we have a top-down leader or more authoritative leadership, then the people at the top are going to have all the information and not necessarily give it out all to the people who are below them. So we're going to be sharing information with each other, like what we're working on, challenges they're encountering, a place brainstorm, and offer feedback. You name it, that's what we're going to be working on. Okay, next slide. Number 2, we have some in collaborative leadership. It looks like the people are empowered. The self-management structure aspires to empowering individual voices and avoid the bureaucracy that often accompanies traditional organizational structures. It's really critical for a collaborative environment, self-managed or not. It's absolutely critical to empower self-management and aspire to empower individual voices. Empowering people is about understanding how each piece of the puzzle fits together toward the big picture and communicating that. Sometimes people are afraid to work together. They're afraid to pitch in They're afraid to take that step into leadership because they don't feel that they're a part of it. But in collaborative leadership, you have to build that trust and build that way of including everyone. It is imperative that you build teams that have different perspectives and skill sets, especially well equipped to tackle large-scale challenges and important projects. So as a leader, you'll want to stand back and let them unleash their true potential. But that's hard sometimes when people have been beat down or have had only authoritative leadership styles. Okay, next one. Collaboration skills. Excuse me. In collaborative working environments, leaders take on a less directive and more participatory role. The leader is not the one that is doing all of the decision making. They are more of a participatory role. They're one of the team. They can, again, lead the process, but they're not leading the answers or they're not setting the goals themselves. They may play a part in assembling a project team, but they aren't necessarily the owner of that particular project. Instead, they're there to lend their perspective and take on some of the workload and encourage an organizational-wide style of collaboration. So the primary role of collaborative leaders is to help people get better at collaborating with each other. Collaboration is a process, after all, but it also requires a set of skills to be honed over time. It's up to leaders to help their teams develop the skills necessary to collaborate well. And that goes back to what is collaboration that we talked about earlier. So in practice, this means providing space for all types of communication and communicators. It means helping people improve their organizational skills. It means helping people become effective debaters and mediating discussions with competing voices or ideas. In other words, that's that conflict. When that happens, you have to sometimes be the mediator in the discussion so that everybody's voice is heard and ideas come up from different areas. It also means anticipating how collaboration might break down and taking action to prevent it before it happens. Sometimes that's really hard to anticipate. Sometimes the collaboration will break down and you'll have to come back and talk through it again, discussion and dialogue, to make the collaboration go back to a collaborative relationship. Okay, next one. So what are the benefits of a collaborative leadership role? We have a shared sense of organization's purpose. Everyone involved is a part of the solutions. So what is the purpose of this organization? Well, everyone gets to be a part of that decision making and to understand and have a better sense of that. Closer teams who understand how their work intersects with and influences other teams across the organization. Excuse me. You got more interconnected and up-to-date and engaged workforce. That's going to be some of the things, interconnectedness, up-to-date, engaged. Those are some of the things that help to retain teachers and retain paraprofessionals as well. An organization-wide sense that leaders trust their people to do great work. And again, this takes building up, okay? You have to build the trust, and that comes through that dialogue and discussion. Increased employee loyalty. That's again, retention of teachers. And development of future collaborative leaders, because once they're in that system, then they will become collaborative leaders themselves. Now, many of you at the beginning said that you've worked with a collaborative leader before, and so you've probably become more collaborative as a result. That's great news. You're well on your way. Next slide. This is a slide I found that was really interesting to me. It's talking about the stakeholders in the middle, the stakeholders of the school, and who are those people? Well, they're the students, the parents, the teachers, they're the principal, or that might be the DOS, community, businesses and industry, school management. But you also have to remember that there are agencies that we deal with in special education. Those agencies may be might be public agencies or private agencies. We also might need to work with the government. In our state, we have to work a lot with the government. So business foundations, higher education, educators, students, families, agencies, and the government, school management. There are lots of different collaborators and lots of different people in this stakeholders group that we look at. Collaborative leaderships in school results in the following. Again, shared ownership of goals, shared responsibility, empowered teachers, better commitment and improvement in teachers, effective communication, and a productive school culture. Okay, next. Okay, so in conclusion, and in the end, collaborative leadership is all about flattening and opening up an organization. It's about new ideas and perspectives. We're opening up to these new ideas and perspectives, skill sets, and a greater awareness of what's going on and what's working and what isn't. It's not necessarily an outright rejection of traditional organizational structures either. Think of collaborative leadership as an upgraded version that helps, that reflects the way people work nowadays. If this doesn't describe your organization, don't fret. Creating a collaborative workplace takes time and effort, but the payoff is really well worth it. To kick off the process at your workplace, start with new hires. Find ways to get them out of their team, their comfort zone, and give them a chance to connect with other people. Give them projects that demand collaborative solutions. Gradually, your organization will begin to see firsthand why collaboration is important. And you'll see people wanting to be a part of that. Okay, that's the end of the presentation. Now, I don't know how I am on time compared to where we are in the session. Do you have any questions? If you have questions, you might want to put them in the chat.
You can also use the raise your hand feature. It should be in the toolbar at the very top of your screen.
Okay, so I see one in the chat. It says, this is from Misty. Do you have a recommended book for collaborative leadership?
I do not have a book specifically on collaborative leadership. There are several, but some of the ones that I actually found a lot of stuff online and looked at some of the journal articles online. That's where I got a lot of my resources. I don't have specifically one on collaborative leadership. Thanks, Misty, for your question.
Dr. Miller, I have a question. So, in regards to collaborative leadership, and when we look at the culture of an organization, in your opinion, what does if if a leader is not collaborative, what does that do to the culture? What could they possibly do?
The culture just may not grow in the same way. It makes it more closed. People are afraid to speak out or take a leadership role. I think it also reduces the amount of idea sharing, and that really stifles the culture. Everybody's been under principles that keeps everything close to the vest and doesn't allow opportunities for internal leadership within the teachers. Teacher leaders are actually some of the best people and the best way to get a culture to be more collaborative. Teachers taking the lead.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. So Amy Howard has asked, any suggestions on activities to lay the groundwork for developing this culture?
I think, Amy, some of the things that you might do is look at those building collaboration, using collaboration in your school or in your experience as a DOS. I think that establishing some group norms and goals around this is what we're going to do to collaborate together, and it could be something as simple as we're going to do a folder review, but everybody's going to help with it. Who would like to take the lead on blank? You know, who would like to take the lead on this group or that group? You could have as many leaders in there as you wish, or as many as volunteer. Also, discussion and dialogue about it is, again, one of the ways to set up more collaboration. If there's a conflict, you can work through a conflict by a collaborative leadership style, and also just make sure everybody's voice is heard. Those are some of the ways that you can develop that culture.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. Amy, I see you have one other question. I'm going to go to Stacy, and then we'll come back to your second part of your question. Stacy.
Sure. Thank you for taking my question. My question is very similar to Thomas's, is that if we had, let's say, a principal who happens to, follow that collaborative model, and a vice principal who likes to keep everything close to the chest, how does that impact the culture of the building? And then on top of that, how do we help said vice principal to become more collaborative and not keep everything so close to the chest?
Well, some of that might be looking at including them in some collaboration, explaining to them one of the issues or concerns that you have in the school. That might be due process, and explaining that to them and helping them to become a part of the question and answer, part of the solution, part of what's going on. Here are the ways that we can solve this. Or do you have any other ideas about what to do there? Are there other things that might be impacting this due process in your school that I don't know about? Inviting them to part of the discussion, I think, is the way to lead into that. Doesn't necessarily change how their leadership is, but your leadership in that might influence theirs.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Miller. And if I can just add on to that, so as a former principal, what I found is that, you do always want to incorporate a collaborative environment, but sometimes as a principal, you can't collaborate on everything. As a principal, you do have to make a decision. But what I found in my practice that was very helpful is that when you do have to make those isolated decisions, is providing the why to people behind your decision. So it doesn't feel as if you're doing things in isolation or you're being secretive. So in times where I had to make decisions where, very quick decisions, I always usually provided a why behind my decisions to the staff. And so we have a few more minutes. And so Amy, I think you had a second part of your question, and it says, do you suggest letting it be known that this is your leadership style? So I guess, do you suggest letting it be known? I guess so. Should you let people know your leadership style?
I think that leadership styles are more about what you do rather than what you say. I don't think you have to announce I'm going to be a collaborative leader, because there are lots of times, like Thomas said, that you have to make the decision, on finances, etc. Sometimes you can't make the decision in a collaborative way. You have to just bite the bullet and do it yourself. So I wouldn't necessarily announce it, but it's what you do that speaks louder than words. Actions louder than words.
That's so true. And if I can build on that, just kind of reflecting back on my practice as a principal, is that, leadership is situational, right? Is that, your leadership changes daily. It
Yes.
changes, by the minute. So it's kind of hard to announce your leadership style because it's actually day by day and minute by minute. And it depends and it varies on employee by employee on which, your leadership style may be. So I think we are at 10:58. So thank you again, Dr. Miller, for your presentation.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome. And I will turn it over to Pete to lead us to break.
Yes, it was a wonderful presentation, Dr. Miller. I've
Thank you.
lot to chew on and lots of notes. So appreciate all your efforts. Yes,
you.
Thomas, we are looking at a break, and if we can come back about to it. If we can come back at 5 after the hour, that would be great. And thank you. Hey, sorry to bother you.
And I've been using that quite successfully, but I haven't moved my position.
Pete, your mic is on. If you can hear me.
Thank
Okay.
you. Okay, we are back. Oh, Thomas, go right ahead.
All right, so we are back from break. I hope everyone had a great 5 minutes, which allowed you to take care of some things, to take care of yourself, most importantly. So now we're moving into the breakout session. So we want to continue the conversation around collaborative leadership, but take it a step further and have rich dialogue in regards to the topic. So we're very excited that our facilitators for this session are your cohort members. So we have Stacy. Stacy, if you don't mind opening your camera, if you don't mind. I hate to put you on the spot. Sorry. Okay. We have Abby.
Hi, guys.
Who will also be one of your facilitators. Okay. And we also have Andrea. Andrea, who will also be one of your facilitators for today. So again, we are about to go into your breakout sessions. And again, this is an opportunity to take some things that we've learned from Dr. Miller into a more intimate and a more intimate environment where we can dig a little deeper in regards to collaborative leadership. So, Beck, I believe, are we ready to break off?
Yes, I have people assigned to Abby's room, Misty's room, and Stacy's room. So I'll go ahead and start those now, and I'll bring you guys back at the end of the session.
All right. All right. You all have a great session. See you at 11:45.
Pete, are you logged on through 2 devices today? Because I see that you're on mute, but I can still hear you. And I've also assigned you to a room, but I still see you in this space as well. So it makes me think that you're logged on through 2 devices today, maybe through your computer.
Becca, can you hear me? Becca, can you hear me?
Pete, I think you're logged on through 2 devices.
Well, hang on a minute.
You might want to mute yourself, Pete.
Beck, if you can hear me, my phone is off, so. Hello.
Pete. Hi, Pete. Hey, Pete. Do
Hey,
you want me to assign you to a room?
sure.
Okay. It takes just a moment to move you, but it says it's moving you now. Hey, Pete.
Oh, I,
Are you logged in through just one device, or do you think you could be logged in?
again, why did, I made it through an hour with no problems.
Yeah.
And I've done nothing different as far as, just sitting here. That's all I've done.
Okay.
And
It's just,
I went out and closed out and then came back into the join now, and you and I are working quite well. So
okay.
I have a join room button down here. Is that
Oh, yeah. See if you can join that room.
okay?
And I'll wait here to admit you back in if you get kicked out. Ugh.
Hello?
Hi, Allison. It's Becca. How are you?
Hey, I'm sorry. I'm going in and out of service, and I feel like I have no idea what's going on right now.
Let me add you back to Stacy's room. Is that where you were?
I have no idea. So, like, I essentially lost service right after we came back from the break. And I'm driving back out of this hauler to where hopefully I can regain service. So I really have no idea whose room I was in.
Okay, I see you in Stacy's room. So is there a way to? I have that you're still in Stacy's room. So
yeah, it's weird because so I got reconnected, but it's like I couldn't hear anything. Like I saw your name, like I can see you, and I can see A Labor like on my screen. But like I couldn't hear anything, so that's why I unmuted and was like I didn't know if anybody could hear me. Like I don't know.
Okay. Let's see. Why don't you, is there a way that you can leave the meeting and then rejoin one more time?
Yeah, let me try that. Let me see if I can do that.
Okay, I'll wait right here for you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, I came back, but I think I came back.
So you're kind of going in and out. If you want to hang up and then join back again when you get back into town, maybe. Let me try one. Are you there? Hey, Allison. I still am having trouble hearing you. There should be, I think probably one of the reasons I can't add you to a chat is because you have logged on through a mobile device.
Hey, Becca.
Hey, Thomas. What time should I bring everybody back?
Around 11:44, so we can come back around 11:45.
Okay.
Yeah, that's about another minute or so. Where y'all going to eat at tonight?
We are going to school sushi at
Oh,
6.
sushi. Ooh, I love sushi.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun if I can pull it together.
Did you get a sushi roll? You like the California rolls?
I don't. I eat vegetarian.
Oh, that's right.
Their
That's right.
vegetarian menu.
That's right.
Looks like Allison came back. Allison, you were in and out of service for a bit. I'll go ahead and close the rooms and bring everyone back in.
All right, sounds good.
Yes, Raven.
It's so nice as everyone is joining us. Their cameras are on, and it's so nice to see your all's faces. Good morning. Or afternoon now. We've moved from the morning to the afternoon.
It really is good to see everyone's faces.
Thomas, all the rooms are closed and everyone's back.
All right, so I guess we will jump right into the sharing. And so before we get to sharing, I do want to make a correction. So it was Misty. So our facilitators today were, I apologize, Misty. So it was Stacy, Misty, and Abby. So thank you all so much for serving as our facilitators for today. So I will start with Abby. Abby, what happened? What did you all talk about in your group?
We talked about a lot. At first we shared and we went around talking about the best PD that we've ever done, and I think unintentionally it kind of lent itself to today's topic about leadership and collaboration. And so some of the things that they shared were about working with a team, or sharing that out with the teachers that we work with, and collaborating on implementing some of the stuff we've learned from those professional development opportunities. And we gave Bill some suggestions to take back to you leads, the team, so you guys can maybe arrange something fun for us.
All right. I'm looking forward to our debrief.
But we talked about, so much about being able to trust in the other people in your team, and being able to admit your weaknesses. And you don't have to be in control all the time. And that sometimes that's hard as leaders, because we talked about how we just want to get stuff done, and it's hard to be patient and trust a process, or set up the protocols where it's not instant results or gratification. But finding the people to surround yourself with that will strengthen and balance you. And we just talked about how we've been very lucky to have some really great mentors that took time to be a sounding board for us and help us. And then maybe being intentional about how we can mentor others in the field now that we're kind of taking this role and being a part of the leads cohort, that we can be intentional about stepping up and being great mentors for other people that are interested in leading in this area. My group, do you guys have anything else to share?
All right. Thank you so much. A lot of great takeaways from your group, Abby, and it seems like you all had a really rich conversation, which is really, really good. So I will turn it over to Misty. Misty.
Thanks, Dr. Williams. My group, Lindsay and Krista and myself, I have 2 pages of notes, so I'm kind of quickly scanning them. We had great conversation as well. We started off by sharing our favorite fall activity because the recent heat wave has me wishing for cooler weather. So we're excited about football and fall decorations and marching band. So we're pumped about all those activities. We talked about so many wonderful things. The first thing we thought about was, what we found so helpful and surprising. And we just kind of went right into the next question, thinking about people who demonstrated those highly effective leadership skills. Because all during Dr. Miller's presentation, as she was describing what effective collaborative leaders are, we could picture a person in our head. It automatically popped in. And that person empowered other people to lead in their own classroom, lead together with other teachers, and they encourage that collaboration by just giving people the space to explore because they were trusted. And trust was a word that kept coming up over and over again in our conversation. We trust people, we were going to put them in positions where they can flourish and lead, and that's going to be really effective. And Krista actually mentioned that a person that she's worked with has, just by being in his building, he's created so many leaders. So it's kind of like they don't hoard that leadership. They create opportunities for others to become leaders as well, just by creating that climate and that atmosphere. And we also talked about the other skills that are critical. Trust again came up, but we also talked about supporting and retaining teachers is so important. And what can we do? Because many of our districts are facing a shortage of special education teachers, or teachers are leaving and it's a turnover. And what can we do to collaborate together as a district within our district to see how we can support people, how we can retain, and instead of just wondering about it, go straight to the source and ask teachers, what are we doing well to support you? What can we do to make sure we retain you? Because we want to keep our special education staff and collaborate together across the district and not just keep those thoughts to ourselves. I'm just going over all my notes here. We did talk about, what might be a little difficult about collaboration. And we definitely brought up time, because as a DOS, you're kind of on your own, and depending on what district you're in, you may have several different buildings, and trying to collaborate with all of those leaders might be a bit of a difficulty, as well as trying to change some of those mindsets regarding discipline in certain buildings. And thinking especially about our special education teachers with behavior and discipline in the high school buildings. And the last thing we really talked about, which is that last question, which situations would collaborative leadership not be the most effective? And we think sometimes people just have to do it, especially with due process and special education. We don't want to get other people's opinions. There's no opinion here. You just have to do it. And that's where we kind of ended, Dr. Williams, when you had mentioned that sometimes your leadership style is going to depend on the situation and the needs of the people you're working with. We have to be, as leaders, sensitive enough to realize that collaboration is not effective here. We need to give people what they need. We kind of have to be chameleons in that. So Lindsay and Krista, do we want to add anything else? Okay.
Wow, this is great. It seemed like you all had a really great, rich dialogue as well in your group, and it's just so good to hear. And if I can just build on top of that, and with this topic, it really just makes me really just kind of reflect on my practice as a principal. And one thing that I did, and one thing that I noticed really quickly, is that you lead people, but you manage situations. And so that really helped me during my tenure as principal. So Stacy, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. I too have a lot of notes to go through. We started off with, a really fun little activity about fashion trends and which ones were like the most embarrassing fashion trend that you could subscribe to, and which kind of led us into our first question when we were talking about Dr. Miller's presentation. And we talked about how there's been this trend in education where there used to be this good old boys network, and there was trust that you could do your job and trust to do the things that you needed to do. And then there was this shift in trend to more of a micromanagement type of leadership that kind of no longer fostered that trust and that openness and the control over became more intense, maybe due to accountabilities, whatever it may be. And then, we also talked about that whole idea of a gentle intruder and how, that could actually lead to being more collaborative and maybe moving that shift a little bit more from that micromanagement type trend to being more in between the good old boy network and the micromanagement style. We also talked about, things about what we could do to that we felt were critical to be in a dose in order to be collaborative and collaborate effectively. And we looked at things like, remembering that all our students, all our special education students are general ed students first, and putting that I back in IEP. We talked about transition goals and being more collaborative that way, especially within the alternate school setting. Alternate schools are meant to be temporary. How do we transition them back into a homeschool setting? We had lots of different discussions. I'm kind of going through. We talked about, well, what are some things that we kind of need to remember as collaborative leaders within special education, and how to say no sometimes, not overcommitting ourselves, being patient with others who may not have that same expectation that, I'm giving myself, I'm doing 110%, you need to do the same. Knowing that, knowing when to ask for help was a big thing that we definitely talked about. And we had that whole tempering reality with advocacy is also another thing, because we are advocates, but we also need to remember that, we also have to sell our products, so to speak. And then finally, we wrapped up with when's not a good time to be collaborative, and a lot of it came around compliance and law and litigation. Those are really big in our group, and that's, I think, it. Guys, do you have anything you wanted to add in our group?
You said it all.
Okay, great. Thomas, there are two Stacys in our cohort.
I know.
The Stacy Hutchinson, she's more fancy than I am. I'm more plain Jane. So she has the IE in her name. I'm just a Y. So she's gonna be more fancy.
So Stacy with the Y, Stacy with the IE. Got it. But it sounds like you all did. Go ahead, Stacy, with the IE.
I was ready to rock and roll.
Were you ready?
All right, let's do it. I was ready.
There we go. That's leadership right there. You're ready to just dive in and continue the work. That's definitely a trait of leadership. Perfect. So it sounds like you all had really, really great conversations in your groups. One trend that I did hear was trust. I did hear trust. The word continued to come out in each of the group was trust, 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 right? And so how do we trust? And as a leader, how do you learn to trust, that your people are going to do their job? And that's definitely what you have to do, because micromanaging does not work. It just doesn't, right? And you don't want to create that culture for your organization, because if we talk about retention, retaining, people will leave. People will definitely leave if they feel micromanaged, or if they don't feel trusted that you're trusting them to do the job. So, Becca, do you have anything that you would like to add?
I just typed a comment in the comment box. So yeah, it just seems also like the flexibility is key. And I know that everyone's gotten a lot of practice with that over these last 18 months. We have definitely been forced to be flexible. If you haven't been flexible, then you've probably been frustrated a lot. So flexibility is key, trust and flexibility. For sure.
Absolutely. 18 months and counting. And one other thing that I want to also add is that you have to have a seat of humility. like you have to have a seat of humility, and you have to sit from a seat of understanding. Those were some of my core traits as a leader, and it really helped me throughout my tenure as principal. So I will turn it over to Pete. We have about 2 minutes, Pete. Do we have anything else that we need to maybe hit on?
Other than to make sure the evaluation link is in the chat, and I see that it is. Bill has put that in for us, and so if you'll, any questions, comments? If not, we will see you all at least on September the 25th.
25th.
Yeah. September came out of my mouth. It seems like just yesterday was February.
Yeah, you all have a great day. And remember, cohort 2, we're ready for cohort 2. They'll be here in October. Spread the word through your colleagues. We want high quality. We want the best of the best, right? And so make sure that you refer the best. And so Becca, Bill, would you like to kind of add anything before we close?
Just appreciation for everyone and for today's time and the topic. Just well done.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you all. Have a great
Thank
weekend.
you all. Thank you, facilitators. Thank you, Dr. April. Thank you, scholars. See you all next month.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
We should have grabbed some facilitators for our next session.
Oh, we should have.